Class is in session. We're going to continue on with this interview of Nicole Kissinger, the lover of Chris Watts. I've done 3 other videos on it, so I won't take too long to set it up. But she is the lover of Chris Watts, who killed his wife, pregnant wife of 15 weeks, and his 2 children, took out his family, and the motive possibly was to be with her. But what I'm using the video for, and what I want you guys to use it for, is I'm pointing out areas where men and women, but we can learn lessons on how men and women operate, the intersexual dynamics, how men and women operate in dating and relationships, and this rare view of women and their private lives, because they keep them private for a reason, and how they operate privately and how they claim they operate publicly are 2 different things. Then I think it's good for men, especially men that are struggling in dating, or men, and a lot of men are struggling in dating, because there is a difference in what women say they do privately and what they actually do privately. And I don't think it's a deficiency, and it is not a deficiency on men's part. It's just, men are such good dudes that they sometimes believe the narrative out there. And I think these rare glimpses into a private life of a woman, and we're not going in and stealing this privacy, where this is offered into the court record. It's public, so it's out there, because she was involved in a police investigation. So we're just using what's out there. So let's go ahead and take a look, and we'll do about another 30 minutes of this interview.
Thing that he's got in his own life and his life that he doesn't remember probably what it's like to be single or have time where it's just him.
Sure. And
so I was just embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I really try to take it smart with all that. And it was the same thing with his kids. I was just and we talk about things every once in a while where I'd be like, hey, if I ever meet, because I have a lot of house plants. It's a good example. So I have a lot of house plants, and I told him, I was like, one day if I ever meet your kids, I was like, I'm gonna show these girls how to paint pottery and plants. I was like, I think they would love to see something grow that they built. I think it would be really, really cute. And little stuff like that, but it wasn't very frequent. It wasn't, hey, we should get married, and hey, we should have babies, and hey, I want to live with you, and hey, I need to meet your children now, and let's cut the mom out. It was never like that.
And there was never any conversation about, we can't do this with her around, we can't do this with the kids around. No. He never said that, you never said that.
No.
So
yeah, that and she's very adamant about that. And Chris Watts, and you'll see this, and I don't know his dating lifestyle, but it seems as if he got married at a young age. Apparently, it appears possibly because he's got a wife and 2 kids. And he's a young guy, so a lot of times, men especially haven't had a whole lot of dating experience. I mean, you take a person like Nicole here, and this is no shady. I like her, so I think she's just a regular chick, and she's a pretty girl with a amazing figure and all this stuff, and so she's had a lot of dating opportunities. She is very, and this goes back to women in general. Especially pretty women in general, is that they have a lot of dating opportunities. They're very experienced at dating. And so they know how men operate. They know how dating operates. And so with all that experience, it's like an old, military guy or a police officer or an old fireman, in those professions where the older guys, they have the wisdom. And, you might see a younger rookie on a scene or a situation, and he's all hyped up, and the veteran guy comes and is like, hey, chill out, bro. This is what's going on, because they have the wisdom, the experience. They're not caught up in their emotions. They're just very, just that kind of archetype, right? I think there was there's that saying of, there's the young, I think it's a young rookie cop or something, and he sees or it's not a policeman, or it's in the movie Colors or something, where, the young rookie guy, Sean Penn, and then I can't remember the other actor, but, it's like that, oh, there's a female cow or something, and he's like, let's see, he tells the analogy of, let's go bang that cow, and then the veteran cop is like, no, let's walk down the hill, and bang them all. It's like it basically just trying to say to you now, the rookie cop wanted to get one, but the veteran cop was like, no, chill. We're gonna take our time. We're gonna plan this out, and we're gonna go bang them all. It that bang all the cows on the hill or something like that. But that's kind of the notion I get with this whole dating and interview with Nicole is Chris Watts seemed to be like, falling in love and, stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, they're kind of live action role playing LARPing in the, if I ever meet your kids and and, yeah, it's fun to do. And, I'm going to show them how to do this and But it's kind of like, it's live action role playing. It's like, it's something cool to say because you're spending a lot of sexual and intimate time together. So, you're starting to wrap in the feelings of the relationship. But at the same time, at this point in the relationship, it's going to be a lot of just, sexual energy, So, and I can kind of tell from Nicole, she's not ready to take on his family, But she's kind of saying and the fact that she's telling him, you need to be single for a while. That's, if a woman really, really ready to move in with you, she'll put herself inside, she'll make a scenario where she's moving in with you, and the fact that she's telling him to be single, that's a woman that's not ready to get, because otherwise she'd be angling for that spot, but she's not.
The way you guys were trying to make this work was just, slowly trying to come together because of his current situation, and by your own account, you're just a independent person. It sounds like pretty much.
Yes.
And but through text.
Yes, Nicole's independent. Yes.
Or through conversation, he never said, "Hey, this isn't going to be financially able. I'm not going to be financially able to do this, or this isn't a good thing. I got these kids." None of those conversations ever came up.
No, I mean, he told me like he had a budget restriction. So for his apartment, and I'm pretty sure this is in the text, and this will probably be in the last couple of weeks. He told me $1,100 to $1,400 when I was asking him, because I told him I'd help him do homework. I was like, "You do some homework, I'll do some homework. We'll knock this out because if you guys are for real putting the house up, you got to figure it out."
And you can say part of the reason she's helping him out is she does want him, for numerous reasons, right? She doesn't want him to be, if she's banging him, she probably wants him to be out of his wife's house just for, yeah, she might be putting up with it that he's, still married, but, she probably wants him to be away from the wife, but it's not where it's like, yeah, she wants him out, but it's not like, we got to get you out of there, So yeah, is this all charity as far as her help goes to get him out of the house, right? But he's just LARPing too because he's not moving out of that house. There's no plan for him to divorce.
And so that was his budget. And I remember asking him, I was like, "You sure you don't want to just get like a house?" And he's like, "I never thought about a house." I'm like, "Yeah, you can rent houses, man. Like, it's a thing." Right
there, though. I mean, leading. You guys, you got to have a plan. You sure you don't want to get a house? And I understand you don't have to have, if someone can point out something that, you might need to look at, as a man, here's what you do. If she says, have you ever thought about renting a house? You say, well, give me the facts and figures on that. And let me see, He's like, oh, I never thought about that. And now he lets her run with it, right? But as a man, it's your job, just, and this is how you take leadership. If it was your boss, if you were in war and you're saying, "Hey, Colonel, we got war, we got, enemy over here," the Colonel doesn't go, "Huh, good, let me see, let me look into that. I'm not sure, go see what you got, Johnny." And, no, the Colonel's like, give me the data on that and, we'll get the coordinates and we'll go bomb those guys. He's making plans. The leader's always making plans. He's leading. He's got a program going on because if you're the troops in battle, you want your leader to be getting you the hell out of it or getting you victory out of it. Not, good point, Johnny. There's the enemy over there. What do you think? No, and that's what, kind of Chris Watts is doing here. It's like, no, give me the facts and figures. Let me look into renting as opposed to getting an apartment, and I'll make a decision on it. But thank you for that, That's how you stay in frame. Staying in frame is important. Maintain your frame as a leader, guys.
And he's just like, I don't know if I can afford that. I was like, okay.
Well, and it's not that. You tell it, I don't know if I, let me look at the facts and figures. Let me look at the price to get a rental house. Let me look at the price for an apartment, and I'll get back with you, Nicole. But hey, thanks for the information. And that's when a woman will start feeling safer with you. You know, if you're just kind of waffling, she's not going to know exactly the instruments that are going on to make her feel less attractive. But women will just start feeling less attractive. That's how women operate. They're not going to tell you, your lack of being a leader is making me less attractive. No, they're going to be like, why am I feeling less attracted to this guy? And the real reason is you're not taking action. You know, that's how women work.
I knew that those two had been through some financial trouble. I definitely found out a lot more about that situation in the newspaper recently.
Okay, so prior to the newspaper, how did you know he was in financial difficulty?
Because when I went to that house, everything in there is very, 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 very nice. It looks like it all comes with a very expensive price tag. And I didn't say anything to him about it, but I could kind of...
How women work here, guys. The women are... I like this part. These are gems that we learn. Women are very observant. And so anything you're doing, and this is why a lot of times, rich guys are wearing high fancy watches or the shirt they wear. I remember one time I was dating a woman and I had a friend of mine, and he was just a dapper dresser, And the girl I was dating at the time, she had picked out everything he was wearing, and why it looked good, and she was just being cool. Like, your friend was cool. I liked it, But the thing was, I was like, dang, they're observant, So women, not all women notice that on guys, but I'm just saying, they'll notice when like a lot. This is from dating in my 50 years. They'll notice when, let's say a suit looks good on a guy and how they've had it tailored. A woman will know. A woman will know you had it tailored. A woman will know your shoes were expensive or whatever. It's just like in this situation, guys. It's like she's gone into that house and she said, I didn't tell him, but she knew everything in that house was expensive. She knew that, they were paying a pretty penny for stuff. She's looking around and she's doing the numbers and she's doing all this observation. Women are extremely observant creatures. And they take in information very well. Women are information gatherers, and this is respect for women. I love the fact that they do that. You'd want one of these kind of girls on your team if you're like going into battle, like in the CIA. They'd be like, the women have an awesome computer for, doing math and taking in information. And that's what she's doing. She's taking in information of, he's got expensive fixtures. He's got, all the furniture is expensive, probably, just all that stuff, And this is what she's saying.
Where I was like just looking at everything, like, how do you guys afford this? And then he has that car. I don't even know how much that car costs, but
What car is
that
it?
Lexus. I'm sure that thing costs like
Status, but I'm sure in the beginning that kind of impressed her. Again, not and that'll wear off though. And it's not worth the financial troubles. And guys don't need money, but money can be an assist. Money and status can assist you. Now, I would say in this situation, Chris Watts was getting into fitness and really getting after it. So yeah, his definitely, I would say his looks was what interested Nicole in the beginning. But you can also, it's, what is it? Money, game, frame, stat, whatever, right? But it's, looks, money, status, frame, game, or whatever. But it's basically, if you have all those, your money definitely can be an added benefit. But you already have to have the looks and the mindset. You know what I'm saying? But yes, you fill up the bucket of money. Yeah, women will like that.
grand, but just like money, like everything just looked like it cost a lot of money in that house.
You probably have a decent idea of how much money he makes.
Yeah, and it's not enough money to pay for all that, not even close.
Did you have any idea of what...
And look at that, she already knew. This is sometimes what guys don't, guys are just happy to date a hot woman or so. We don't do the math like women do. And she was probably doing the math. She you probably know what he makes. She's like, yeah, I do. See? Because they work at the same company, So anyway, she knew. She was doing the math.
Shanann did for a living, or how much money she might have made?
I mean, I had an idea. I would consider her like a sales rep. I don't know how else to describe that.
But at the same time, it did not prevent her from having a torrid sexual affair with the guy. You know, so the money, the status, whatever, that may affect things in the future. But at the moment, she's highly attracted to him. She's sexually attracted to him. So this torrid sexual affair that will continue. This is what and I've had this happen in my life is those will go on. You don't have to have any other inputs other than your sexuality and your sexual compatibility and your sexual attraction together. That can keep you going for a while. But the money, the status, all that other add frame, and now if you don't keep those up, then later on that's going to affect your sexual relationship down the line more than likely. But if a woman is hot to trot as far as how she's attracted to you sexually, she's going to sexually perform for you regardless of how much money you have, regardless of your status, and that's kind of what's going on here, But then as the sexual relationship goes on, she's adding things up. His wife does this, he makes this, but she doesn't care. She's like, that doesn't add up, and they probably have, but it's not affecting her sexual performance. They're still banging a lot.
For the company that she worked for, and I don't know exactly how much she made. He said that she was really competitive and she liked to try to keep up with him. He's like, she gets close sometimes. So I don't know how much those two brought in. I mean, off the top of my head, if I could guess, probably somewhere around like $140K a year. I mean, I don't know.
That's nothing.
Because I don't know exactly how much he makes.
I mean, I averaged that in my own career. I'm retired now from the Houston Police Department, but I mean, in my career, that's what I averaged alone, and and it gets not flexed at all. This day and age, that is nothing. Yeah, you ain't living large off of that.
I don't know exactly how much she makes, but based just off of like what I know about the oil field, yeah, I would say that's probably an accurate estimate.
So even if they're making, let's just use the figure $100,000, they're living above their means or below their means?
Oh my God,
way too much.
Way.
Did he ever discuss with you any of those issues?
I mean, a little. I mean, I didn't know about the bankruptcy or any of that until I read on the newspaper about that. But I think he was really frustrated with the situation. He told me, he's like, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that. And I was just...
That's leadership. He's saying, Chris Watts and his wife were in a lot of financial trouble. And financial trouble, I mean, we had a situation here in Houston where, again, a husband took out his whole family, just like Chris Watts did. And that was just in the news today. And it looks like finances were a part of that. Here in Houston, a couple owned what was called Traveler's Cart and Traveler's Table. They were restaurant people. And they were like big time restaurant people. They were known for the quality of their stuff, and the wife was big into the restaurant community, and he killed his wife and kids just like this. But today, just today I saw the article, Ring Camera came out and he's discussing finances, and he's basically says in the Ring Camera video that he's got to do his whole family in, and that's just, I mean, it's just horrific video you watch. But at the same time, I've had, I've succeeded, I've failed, I've had financial issues at times, and, and I'll never be there again because it sucks. I mean, when you're backed up on your finances, yes, it's just money. We don't have debtor's jail. No one's coming to get you, but it's just a feeling of, and for you young kids out there, stay out of financial trouble. It is definitely, being financially stable and being financially just strong. It makes the world such a difference, because I've been in both. For most of my life I was in great financial shape and hit a patch one time where I wasn't, and the two worlds are different. So I can definitely see that Chris, this was becoming a stress on him. But the lesson here is he needs to have leadership. He needs, again, have a plan. How are we going to get us out of this? Oh, I just feel like I put my check in and it goes away and then she messes it up again. That means you have no leadership. That means you have no program going on. You need to have a program going on. People can get in trouble. Like, we're not perfect, you know what I'm saying? But if you get in a hole like this, and this is for guys in a relationship, it's your job to work a plan out to get you the hell out of that bind. And then you get your wife on a program. This is what we're going to spend. oh, she just spends more money and it seems like my check. Just letting everything happen. You know, you cannot live aloof like that in a relationship, guys. You have to be the leader. And that way your wife will feel safe. And when she feels safe, you know, in those kind of situations, she'll feel like she wants to bang you more and she's more attracted to you. And I mean, this is no program for his wife. I just feel like I give my check away and it goes away. And then she spends more money.
Resentful for that?
I don't know if he was resentful. I just think he was frustrated by the fact that they could be doing a lot better financially, and she, from the vibe that I got, had really bad spending habits.
But that's your job as a man to control that and become that leader, once I just said. But, you know, I'll let it go here in a minute. But just in addition to that is, if you tell your wife to do something on your program, see, and this would prevent, you know, these long sustained problems going on in a marriage. Is you tell your wife, this is how it's going to be, this is what we're going to do, this is the budget I've made, and she needs to allow you to lead, right? Or allow you. She's going to let you lead. If she loves you, she's going to let you lead, and you're going to lead. But if she doesn't, now you know, this woman doesn't love me. This woman's not on my team. And at that point, you start making plans to get the hell out, because that's going to continue to happen. That's going to continue to make you have problems. And we're only getting Chris Watts' side and Nicole's side here, because she's just, you know, parroting what Chris Watts is saying. But at the same time, just saying, if it was true and his wife can't get her spending on, that means she doesn't love him. That means she doesn't respect him. If a woman doesn't respect you to allow you to lead, then that means she doesn't respect you at all. And you're going to continue to have problems. And that's how you know. Do not be afraid to be a leader. You know, and if your wife is not letting you lead or whatever, you know, not allowing you to be the man in charge, well, then you're in trouble, and you need to make efforts to get the hell out of that, because it's going to continue to happen. You know, it's kind of like if you ask, you know, a lot of times a guy doesn't want to ask a woman out or ask a woman to have sex because he's afraid she's going to say no. Well, the earlier you ask her, and the earlier you get that no, and this is any situation, if you're in a 20-year marriage, the earlier you get that no, I'm not going to cooperate with you. Now you know you got someone not cooperating. Now you can get the hell out. You didn't have to wait 20 years to hear that.
Under the car, hers or his?
I think it's hers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's hers.
Do you know what other car they might have?
Well, I mean, his APC pickup truck.
And that's
it, I think.
That's on by Anadarko, though, right?
Yeah. But so I don't think they own any other vehicles, as far as I know. I think it's just that thing.
And Anadarko doesn't allow him to drive that on his own personal time, right? So he's just got one vehicle.
Yep.
And it's a very expensive Lexus. And then they live in a pretty expensive house.
It's a huge house.
Yeah.
I was very taken back when I saw it. I was just like, whoa. How?
I mean, again, but I'm sure it impressed her, you know, but she was doing the math, you know. I mean, that's going to give an initial impression, you know, but that's going to wear off quickly, guys, if you're living a fake life.
Fixtures inside caused you to pause.
Everything was just like...
And then you mentioned today you read something about bankruptcy.
Yeah.
What did you read?
That those guys filed bankruptcy for a lot of money in...
Who are those guys?
That couple.
Okay.
In 2015. Oh, Shanann and Chris.
Thanks.
Filed bankruptcy in 2015.
Okay.
But you see how psychologically she separated herself? That's good. I like that, you know. He said that couple. And that shows me that there's a psychological separation in her head. Those guys, that ain't part of her tribe. That ain't part of her team. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of, in my opinion, you know, I'm a psychology major, not a psychologist. But in my opinion, that's a separation of her from him. And you know, she ended up saying the names, but you know, that was a you know, to me, a separation psychologically.
Amount?
No, because it was different in each of the newspapers, and I don't know which one to believe. Okay. So hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yeah, I didn't know that.
Let's go just back to him and the financial. He tells you he has a concern enough to at least express something to you that he's frustrated with the way she spends, or he's upset with working so hard and never having any money, and she's kind of the responsibility she's the responsible party for spending most of the money?
I pretty much got that vibe. I mean, he just told me, he's like, we're house broke all the time. I was just like, that's unfortunate. And I asked him, I was like, do you have a 401k? And he was like, yeah. And I mean, the reason I asked him this is because if I get in a relationship with somebody, I want to know like what kind of baggage that they have. I think that's important. If I walk into a situation where I'm like, hey, I have good credit and I have all these things that I've been building, and you don't have your stuff together, like, what are we going to do?
That's poor leadership. What she's viewing is poor leadership. She doesn't like a man who's a poor leader. If he's got, and she's right. She has every right to say this. If she's getting into a relationship with somebody that's good vetting on her part and a person with options, sexual options, again, she can have sex with you. She's having sex with them. And right now, the finances ain't going to be a big deal. But if she starts not looking to have a relationship with you, and you're looking like a bad leader, and especially in this situation, Chris Watts is looking like a bad leader. Is she doesn't like their finances, and so now there's going to be a loss of attraction there. That would eventually erode on their sexual relationship if they were to keep going. But Nicole, it appears in her life has done some great planning. She's set up well. She's single, no kids. Her finances appear to be good. So she is looking for a man that's going to be a good leader. Just like what she said about the kids. She was happy he had kids. That usually shows a man can take care of things. But now she's looking at this financial problem, and Chris is blaming it on the wife, or they're saying it's the wife's fault. But that's your job as a man, to be that leader and get that wife under control. And as a leader, you say, this is what you're going to spend. You're not going to overspend. But Chris Watts is like, yeah, I'm house broke. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you're not house broke if you're leading situations and you're giving her a budget. And if you're not going to follow the budget that I've got you on, because I'm the man of this house, and I'm going to be concerned for myself. I'm going to be concerned for my kids, my family, and I'm going to have us set up good. So I'm not here being a tyrant. I'm here being a benevolent leader that wants the best for all of us, right? But since Chris didn't do that, instead of leading his family and having Cheyenne, his wife, out of debt and keeping her from spending, he gets so frustrated. They're all dead now.
And it's important for your long term.
You're smart.
So I'm prepared, and so I just asked him. I was like, "Well, do you have 401k?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do have that." And then I asked him. I was like, I didn't ask him like how much debt they had or anything, but I just said, is your lifestyle sustainable? And he was like, no. And I was like, how long do you think that's going to take? He's like, I don't know, but it's
there. You go.
Where did his girl?
And so what would a woman not like in that? You don't have a plan. I don't know. As a man, I'm just saying, if you were in the dating market or whatever, you're dealing with a woman, she's going to judge you, and she should. She's going to judge you poorly. What's your fight? A woman wants to see you have a plan. Well, I'm working on it. I'll have it paid off within 2 years. And, a woman will forgive you for having, let's say, financial trouble. But like him, no plan, no outlook, optimistic outlook, nothing. Well, that shows you're just floundering. Leadership. And a woman is going to find that very unattractive. This is for guys that, are in the dating market. And you can have financial trouble. But a guy that is not working through a problem, whether it be, let's say, even depression or, whatever, a car that's not working, or, and a girl can see, oh, his car's not working. But if you said, hey, yeah, I'm taking it to the mechanic, it's going to be there next week, he's going to have it for 2 days, I'm going to get it out at the end of that week, you'll be forgiven for your leadership. You might say, well, I didn't have the money to pay this week, but, I'm working this other job here, I'm going to have more money next week, so a woman will be like, damn, he's got his crap together. You might get a little bump, might some minus points on, not having the car, but showing a woman you have leadership and a plan to get the hell out of something, get out of your depression. Well, I'm going to go to the doctor here. I'm going to get this medication. I'm going to go to therapy this, next couple months. A woman will be like, damn, people don't want to hear about your problems, especially as a man. They want to see a man getting out of his problems. That's what you're judged on.
When I asked him once, it was like when I was trying to find him an apartment, I was like, are you comfortable telling me where your girls go to school? That's in the text too. I was like, so I can figure out what distance from the apartment is, I was trying to just make his life convenient with like him, his ex, his kids, and all the stuff that he.
But they've been dating for 6 weeks, a 6-week sexual affair. This is too much access to you. This is showing when you have no plan, someone else is going to make a plan. She's making a plan. Let me do this for you. Where's your kids go to school? Too much access to me. Right now, we're in the first 6 weeks of our relationship, whatever. I'm just saying if we were extrapolating out to this into, one of us dating somebody, right? Another guy out there dating somebody. You cannot give a woman this kind of access to you, especially in the beginning. She doesn't know you well enough to have all this information. You know what I'm saying? So, and that goes back into your leadership. You need to be taking care of this stuff on your own. And now Nicole's a little different, but a woman who is wanting to be really submissive and doesn't want it, because Nicole's kind of a hard charger, but a woman that wants to be really submissive doesn't want to deal with these problems. They don't, and that's a good thing. They don't want to deal with your baggage, So you should not be revealing your baggage to a woman. This is because Chris and Nicole, and this is a cautionary tale for guys out there, is you do not give out this much information. You do not give out this much access. Women will definitely, they are great at not doing this, and men need to be better at doing this because they're not ready for this kind of, a person at 6 weeks into your life is not ready to deal with this part of the baggage of your life. That's why you got to slowly release information, and it's because they don't know you well enough to judge the situation properly. So someone could be judging you harshly, where you might have money problems, you might have this, that, you might be getting divorced, whatever, and a woman might go, God dang, he's got all that, but she doesn't know you've got it all taken care of. You've got to play it. So she doesn't know that, most guys aren't leaders, and she doesn't know you're going to be a leader, and so she doesn't know you well enough, and so you expose too much information. And that's what people don't believe, or don't understand is you'll see a lot on dating apps. I believe in honesty. No. And we should all be an open book. No. It is and all of us as the guy, you don't deserve a woman's total background in the beginning. That's where the honesty part goes to, the crapper because, and as well as a guy, it's you don't give out all your deep secrets on the, on this notion of honesty is best policy. No. It is, I will release information at points in my life when I think you can handle the information I'm releasing. Yeah, for sure.
And work. And he was like, don't worry about it. Their school's pretty centrally located, so anywhere in the area that we were discussing will be fine. And he just... Yeah, because he just left it at that because he's not getting divorced. He's like, stop making all these plans. I'm not getting divorced. My kids, That, so he didn't even tell me, which was fine. I respect that.
Daycare is obviously very expensive for a 3 and 5 year old, right? So
I don't understand.
Did he ever discuss that?
Never.
Okay.
Never. Like I said, the only financial thing he ever said is just like, she just likes to spend money, like a lot of it. So that was just kind of the vibe that I got from that, and that it was a lifestyle that she liked to live, like very...
That's women. They can be expensive. They're awesome, but women can be expensive.
Yes, all the time.
Image, yep.
And we said that was why they got that house too. It's like she wants everybody to think that we live a certain way and that we can like sustain all this stuff. And he's like, and we can't. And I told
women we can't, but he has no plan for them. Lack of leadership, And you're gonna hear Nicole say a lot. I told him again. You don't need a woman telling you. You need to be the wise man. But women love image, that's the Facebooks, the Instagrams, that's why they love that stuff. They can curate images, and the wife's curating an image of, financial status.
When you're in those situations, why don't you, I'm like, do you like voice your concern about this?
Yeah, do you voice your concern? And what Nicole is saying is, guys, do you take action? Are you going to be a leader? Are you going to be a leader for me? That's what she's asking. Do you voice your concerns? Take leadership. Take charge is what Nicole's saying. Just like Nicole's taking charge of this conversation.
And he told me, he's like, when I try to talk to her, he's like, she's really bossy and she usually shuts me down.
Oh my God.
Like, when she does that, he's like, I just let it go. And I'm just like, all right.
Look at that. A woman's, but I mean, as much as Nicole may have liked them, dry that vagina up right there, boys. She gets really bossy, and what a wuss. Chris Watts, You're a wuss. She gets bossy, and no, you the boss. Yeah, I mean, Dad had that. Any woman listening to that had to have been dried up by that. No leadership.
I mean,
You can't be like that, guys. You never my wife is so bossy.
I don't try to like interfere with how those two interact. But I did ask about it because I'm just curious, because I would never put myself in a situation where someone was like, you know what, we're going to live in this house that costs like double what we can afford, and that's how it's going to be.
Well, and Nicole here's a leader. She is. You can hear. Look at her. Look at the way she's. Look at the way she's pounding on the table. I mean, those are. Look at her. Look at her face. Those are body language cues, and that's how Chris Watts should have been. The finger on the banging on the table. The looking you in the eye. That is a dominance. Again, she's not being mean. But she's taking a dominant position, shoulders square, eyes looking at the interviewer, finger point, banging on the table, because she's making a point. And that's what Chris Watts should have done, and that's what you guys need to do when you're leading your woman is, banging on the table. This is our budget. This is what each time the finger goes down on the table, this is what we're going to pay. Shoulders squared up, looking you in the eye. This right here, guys, this is a dominant position. Shoulders square, finger down, looking that interviewer in the eye, making sure you understand, making a point. This is how you need to lead your wife.
Everybody to think we're fancy, because I wouldn't do that. I mean, to me, I wouldn't put up with somebody doing that to me, and I'm not saying that that's what she was doing.
And look how she goes back into the submissive role.
He could have been completely lying about this. He could be the one spending all the money.
Sure. This is just what he told you.
Exactly. So, that's as far as I can interpret it. So I can't be like, well, she needs to do this and she needs to do that. But he voiced his...
And as a narcissist or whatever he was, sociopathic, Machiavellian guy, I'm sure he had the dark triad traits. Once again, you see the theme in here, and you can listen to this for women if you're dating women or dating men in general. We help women too. Is that they're always going to make themselves, Chris Kowalski's making himself sound so good, and his damn wife, if she would just quit spending the money, and, he's trying to make himself sound like, the victim, but that's never sexy. You never want to sound like a victim, guys,
Where it's just like financially, I'm in a very bad spot that I don't need to be in, but I'm stuck in, and that was kind of where he was at. So, but he was never like mean when he talked about her. He was never hostile, like nothing like that. He just, very calmly, like, this is the situation. And I think the only reason that he even provided me with that information is because I asked.
Okay. You said something about her being controlling or
bossy.
That's
what he said. Bossy.
But that's the new way the world works. Women want to be the boss. They don't, but when you have a man lacking in leadership, she can be bossy. But if you have a dominant personality, if you're the leader of men, always be presenting masculinity and strength in your relationships and in life in general. No one can be your boss. Your woman should not be bossy. And for every bossy woman out there, there's a man who can dominate that bossy woman. And if the woman doesn't allow it or is not going to accept it, then she gets the hell out of your way. There will be no bossy women in your life, guys. You got to understand that. They can go be bossy with some other beta male, but you cannot let a woman be bossy with you. That either you shut that, either and every bossy woman will submit to a man that can boss himself up to say, no, daddy's in the house now. You can take your little bossy pants and go ahead and submit to this. And again, submission is voluntary. So, but a woman will submit to a guy who will establish frame, who will establish leadership, but some women, they may not. And that's when they get the hell out of your way. They're going to have to go be in some other bossy man's life or beta male's life, or they can go be in a lesbian relationship and be the boss, but they ain't going to be a boss in a man's life. That's how, you make sure either you the boss or you out my life.
Like all aspects of their life, or what, do you know exactly what he meant by that? How that affected him?
I think he was just saying when he voices his opinion, it's not her. Is the gist of that, which I thought from what it sounded like from their separation, from them trying to separate, that was a big deal for him, where he was saying that the reason that they don't really get along anymore is because he feels like he's not heard. He says that he comes home from work and he tries to talk to her and she'll just be like, 1 minute, I'm on the phone. Or she'll like scroll through social media and she like doesn't acknowledge him. And he said that he'd addressed it with her a few times and they're calm. He said they don't really like fight. Like they don't scream.
Well, that's weakness, and that's her being passively aggressively the leader. So if those allegations are true, then then his wife's basically saying, stand down, please. I'm on social media. Stand down, please. I'm on the phone. That is still her. Understand, passive aggressiveness is still aggression. And this is, Nicole and Chris are new. They're still having a torrid sexual affair, but all this stuff is making her less attracted to him. And I think by the end, that's why it was so easy for her to drop him. But these are definitely dominance moves. You can see these. You got to recognize these. And passive aggressions, because women don't like to be direct. The whole, I don't have time to listen to that. I'm scrolling on social media. I don't have time to listen to that. I'm on the phone. That is a direct challenge to you, but it doesn't look like it because it's indirectly direct, right? Because she's still putting you down. She's still telling you to stand down, but she's not in your face going, shut up. She's just saying, you'll have to wait. But still, the passive aggressive works. Women are passive aggressive because women don't like to be direct, right? All right, let's go ahead and leave it there. We'll make it part 5.